soon to be all season. Peer-to-peer cash, that was the vision, but they locked them up cause they fear his mission. The boss can't hold a decentralized mind. The state wanna break them, but they way behind. 2024, it's a brand new race. Fiat's burning, they trying to save face. But inflation robbing every man and his soul. Meanwhile, BCH still playing his role. They print trillions, stealing your wealth, while Roger sitting in a cell by himself. The elites want control, they don't want you free. That's why they took them same thing they did to McAfee. They silenced the ones who exposed the game, but Bitcoin Cash still carry his name. Authorities in Spain have detained Roger for U.S. officials seeking extradition for alleged tax crimes. The same facility where John McAfee was found dead in 2021. Some say this is politically motivated, but boom, beat drops again. To Donald, release Roger from prison. Oh, hurry up, bro, soon to be all season. Peer-to-peer cash, that was the vision, but they locked them up cause they fear his mission. They scared of the truth, they scared of the chain, but BCH gon' break through the pain. Freedom ain't free, the war ain't done. They took Roger down, but the people ain't won. Roger, free Roger, free Roger, free Roger. Coin, cash is freedom. Roger, free Roger, free Roger, free Roger. Coin, cash is freedom. In the tyranny. Big Don already.
There will be no real non-controlled currency in the world.
We're coming for you, banks.
Listening to different podcasts, like in a whole different reality, which they think completely different things about Bitcoin.
They have got my money in their banking system. I should be able to access it, right?
Appler is live.
There's a good number of fucking, like, pretty smart bee catchers.
Hello and welcome back to the Bitcoin Cash podcast, following Bitcoin Cash on its rise to a global reserve currency. Today is, I got it wrong. This is episode number 154, Paytaca Payments and Lyft Token featuring Joemar Taganna. Today is Tuesday, the 15th of July, 2025, which means it's a bank run day. I haven't seen as much chat about the bank run today as I did on July the 1st when I was very impressed. Everybody was all tweeting and discussing it before I even got around to doing my post. But we need to up the game there. So everybody go and withdraw your BCH from the exchanges, put it into self-custody, or even just check up on your self-custody solutions if you haven't looked at it in a while. Always nice to do. I'm your host, Jeremy. Jet is doing the producing, same as always. Quick, I got the slide title wrong. Of course I did. The bull market has returned, but BCH has fallen down to rank 16, US dollars, $487.89 per BCH, which is up a little bit. One BTC sat buys 239.6 BCH sat, slightly down. One ETH buys 609 megasats, also down. Selene 30-day users 544, and the Tokenaut TVL is at 7,082 BCH. Okay, our guest today, Joemar Taganna, is the Paytaca CEO and was last seen on episode 81 of the BCH podcast. Wow, nearly like half of the episode history ago. That is absolutely crazy. Welcome back to the show, mate. How you doing?
Hello, happy to be back. I'm good, and thank you for having me again.
How you feeling about BCH just in general? I don't know if you think back years ago, that must have been probably like at least 2 years ago on the show, episode 81. What date was that? Can we just quickly check? But anyway, recently, how you feeling about the BCH industry and movement?
It's getting better, I would say. A lot of things have been happening, and a lot of possibilities now are, what used to be possibilities before things that we were excited about are happening. Many builders are now able to realize more complex applications in DeFi and also even in payments. And the community has grown, and we have a bigger network now, our merchant network, for example, in Paytaca. So I see a lot of things are going in the right direction. Maybe not as yet being seen as such from the outsiders' perspective, but from within, I see a lot of good developments, and I'm quite happy about it.
Yeah, so I just checked. So it was the 21st of May, 2023, when you were last on the show. Think about that, just after Cash Tokens went live, right? And then we've also had since Abla and Velma. How have you been feeling on the upgrade front? We're looking all right there, don't you think?
Yeah, we have been like anticipating all these upgrades, and especially the upgrade on the VM limits. So now we are like we were itching to implement a lot of stuff that would have hit the limit previously, but yeah, right now we are like the field is open. We can now experiment with a lot of things, and yeah, we're just beginning to scratch the surface of what's possible to build.
How do you think, we were talking a little bit just before we went live about how BCH can start to get that message out to the rest of the cryptocurrency industry? Because I feel like we've done a good job at turning around the ship from BCH is just this Roger Ver Chinese scam that's going to die and go away, and it's not really different to BTC. It just has bigger blocks, but that's kind of useless, and all this like negativity that we're just constantly being slandered and all that. We've kind of shut all that down. We've addressed all of that, and then we've even got to the point that people don't really try and argue with us anymore, because if they do, they know they're just going to get dunked on and wrecked with all kinds of like facts and stats and upgrades that they weren't aware were happening, or products that are launching, all that stuff. So we're doing a great job at silencing the haters, but unfortunately that isn't enough. That's a good first step, but you got to get to the point that people are actively excited to come into BCH and to take it. Like, there's no point in us making all these upgrades if we can't attract new developers to come and build on it. So do you have any thoughts on what we can do to improve the sort of dev acceleration there?
For us, I think it's just a continuous market discovery, like trying to discover the needs of our target customers or target market, and be able to deliver products and services that address those needs. For me, I have learned how to shut off my ears to whatever the naysayers are saying, like, oh, BCH is it's no good. It's not it's just a real coin. It's a shit coin. But this is the only chain where we can build something that is of value to this towards creating products that really advance decentralization in commerce and payments. I think there's no other there's no better chain for doing these kinds of stuff, and also the community is aligned towards that goal. So it's really about trying to break out in terms of coming up with products that the market can really need, can really appreciate the value. Products that can market themselves, like people just the moment they see it and experience it, and they just say, "Oh, this is what we need," and we don't even have to be like vocal that this we are using BCH, for example. It can be a product that just meets their need. It doesn't matter if the magic in the background is being done with BCH. So yeah, we have to engage now. So there's less noise now bothering each of us in the community. So maybe this is the best time to reflect about how we can come up with better products that really address actual needs of our market.
All right, I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate here because I partially agree with you, but I also partially don't. So this is not an entirely, fabricated take, right? But for a long time, I feel like the BCH community has had this discussion of, oh, it doesn't really matter if it's just in the background. If people don't know they're using BCH, I remember even when Paul Stortz came on the show a long time ago, and he was like, why don't you just make, Cash King's gambling app or whatever? Put BCH in the background. Don't even mention anything to do with Bitcoin. Don't worry about the brand. Don't fight about any of that stuff. Like, just give something people that, that works and they want to use it and they will get excited about it. And then they're already using it and sharing it. And then, of course, the network is agnostic. It doesn't really care. It's just processing the transactions. And so if we were able to hit a home run on something like that, then maybe behind the scenes that would drive enough traction that people would notice. They would start to dig in. Oh, what's going on here? And then people in the know in the industry would come into BCH. But to date, nobody has really made a successful product with that mentality. As far as that, some people are more or less heavy on how much they build BCH into their brand. For instance, the BCH podcast is like all in on that. And then Paytaca is kind of, a little less, but it's still heavily associated with it. And then BCH Bull is maybe kind of in the middle. Sometimes they do more stuff focusing on the BCH part, sometimes more on the speculation part or whatever. So there's a whole range of things going on there, but nobody has really done it coming out with my great new app where they don't mention BCH except in the fine print. Why haven't we seen that? Or if this is such a popular idea, why has nobody made it successful?
I think it's because we are still at a stage where our argument or the way we persuade people to use BCH is still on the ideological side of things. Because the philosophy, ideology behind Bitcoin Cash is really strong. So it appeals to those kinds of people who can appreciate that kind of persuasion. But then, as we move towards product-centric, approach, like we're able to come up with products that really address certain needs, regardless if we're using BCH or not. People just find it useful because it's more convenient, it's cheaper, it's a lot better than all the other products out there. Then maybe that will be the transition point where we could just say how useful the product is, or the customers would just know how beneficial using it is, and not even have the need to mention that it is using BCH. But of course, like for me in Paytaca, we won't stop talking about BCH. We are proud to be building on this chain, but the rest of the people, like the customers, at some point maybe they don't even need to know. Like my example of this is Google. Like Google, right from the start, they avoided using Microsoft for their servers. They are a Linux company in the back end, but we don't know Google to be like promoting themselves as a Linux company. We just know they are heavily using Linux and open source OS. So at some point, companies from BCH will have to be like at the forefront of developing products that really benefit the people. And it doesn't matter anymore if the people recognize what's happening in the background, as long as the products really serve their needs. And that's just my take. Of course, all of this, like different approaches can work together in the market, and we can, push things forward from different perspectives.
Yeah. I mean, inevitably, we're going to have a natural range, but I think it's so fascinating that idea is really being a very, like, it's the kind of thing that you hear people say over and over and over and over again. And at a certain point, you have to just wonder, like, why isn't it, working the same way that, you're doing the merchant adoption in Townsville in Argentina. We do have these hotspots where merchant adoption is working, but regardless, some people will still criticize like me or like somebody else and be like, why aren't you focused on merchant adoption? You know, it all needs to be about merchant adoption, etc. And the thing is, well, because everybody can't be doing merchant adoption, and if merchant adoption was going to be the one key that was going to explode everything, it already would have happened, right? We already would be, because there was years where the BCH community was doing nothing except trying to work on merchant adoption. It worked in some places and it didn't work in others, and there's all kinds of reasons for that, and there's all kinds of talent and focus that we need to bring to the project. So I'm very wary of any time I see any of these BCH like tropes that people just say over and over and over again. All right, let me try and hit you with something else then. One other thing I think that BCH could really level up on, which we're maybe not doing the best job of so far, is attracting VC money. And it's, again, it's a bit of a two-sided issue, because on one hand, you have, you know, the BCH community laughing as all this money gets shoveled into these failing projects like Lightning Network. That's now kind of done, but now it's going to be like BitVM or Arc, or they just constantly invent new hoaxes and scams basically that are not going to work. They don't really make any sense. But whether some of it is maybe banker funded, you know, hijacking, not all of it is. Some of it is just they're doing a good job of convincing rich people to give them a lot of money to work on their project. And if it all blows up, well, they wasted some time and the VCs wasted the money. But regardless, if we could be doing a better job of that, why aren't we in there? Why aren't we, you know, hitting up those same people, delivering amazing pitches about how much better our technology is? And then we're the ones getting the money, and then we'll build something successful and kind of prove them wrong. Like you're saying, why is the BCH community not doing the best job at unlocking those just mega amounts of money that seem to flow around in BTC or in ETH or in crypto in general?
I think the biggest factor is just network. Like, we're not connected to the Silicon Valley people. A lot of these chains that are receiving a lot of funding, they have very good connections. They came from that environment, from Silicon Valley, and from places where VCs are already pouring a lot of money. So yeah, network. So like for example, for us, we have been trying to raise money to be able to, you know, extend our runway and reach to a point where we can have sustainable revenue. But it's been, to be honest, it's been like a tough job. Like convincing people to invest in something, it's already quite uncertain to invest in a startup, even if it's not in BCH. So you factor in BCH, it's another, it raises the uncertainty a lot higher. So it makes our job more difficult. And considering that I am also not connected to these big guys who pour in a lot of money. And BCH, I think the culture we have here is not really aligned with what these VCs are looking for. It's funny because I've had a direct experience with potential investors who would always try to convince me to switch to another chain, like to increase the chance of getting more funding. Like, why are you building on BCH? Why don't you switch to Solana? Like, there's a Solana Pay. They've been raising like millions of dollars, and so I realized that they're really looking at the wrong things, and many of the projects who are raising money, I think right from the beginning they know that they really will not deliver on the product as they envisioned. They will launch their token and then have the big guys buy in early, and then maybe try to hype the project and then get more retail buyers, and then the early buyers will just dump on them. So it's been like many projects are planned from the beginning to execute the whole thing like this, and there was no long-term view of really like creating something valuable for society, for example. So those who have money already like condition the founders, and if they don't switch to that kind of approach, they don't get money. So yeah, these factors are there. Like it makes it extra difficult for Bitcoin Cash focused companies to raise money. And my response to that has been, um, it's a reality we have to embrace, right? And in as much as I want to make things happen, we really need resources to get things running. So our response to that has been to try to operate lean, extend our runway for as long as possible, and then continue delivering value that the investors that are aligned, or maybe even not aligned, but they notice that these guys are just persistently producing something useful. Like they just come up with anything, even if they don't have budget. Like yeah, the persistence is there. So I hope that as we like scale down or operate in a more lean way, we still manage to come up with products that later on, at some point, these investors will just wake up and say, "Oh, these guys have been there all along, and they've been producing like products, even if they're underfunded. Maybe they're worth our money." So yeah, that's the idea there.
I mean, I agree with that. Like I've said before on the show, it's one of my favorite sayings that somebody, said to me one time is people don't notice that you're there. They notice that you're still there, right? And it's just that
Yeah, like
it's such a good quote. It sort of encapsulates a lot, right? Where if you really think about it, because it's like you might not even be doing anything differently. I mean, probably you are, but regardless, it's kind of like you're standing on a street corner with your lemonade stand. The first 10,000 people are going to walk by, but maybe they walk by a year later. If that lemonade stand is still there, some part of their subconscious is going, what's going on here, right? So I think persistence is certainly one of the best attributes we can have. And certainly in crypto as well. It's a true benefit because there's constantly scams unwinding, things blowing up. Some new coin is getting hyped, which means some old coin is like dying off and getting forgotten about, etc. So you can really get a lot of value out of being persistent. But nevertheless, even with that strategy, we have to do the best job we can of getting into people's minds, because you still have to get that, they notice that you're still there, but for them to notice that you're still there, they still have to notice you the first time, right? If they don't even know about you. Or you can kind of backfill that somewhat with education, be like, well, BCH has been around since 2009, yada yada yada. But the best is that you get on their radar the first time, and you're just constantly planting those seeds over and over and over and over again throughout time. Like you said, the network has been growing and the community has been growing. Where do you think we're doing a good job on the promotional side, and where could we do better?
Yeah, on the promotion side, the marketing side, we still have a lot of things to do, especially like promoting it in outside the online circles, social media. Um, we, at least for Paytaca, I think what could work for us is targeting schools. Um, we have pilot deployments upcoming of using the Paytaca card, which we have been developing. It's actually quite similar to Quantum Root, which we will talk about later, I believe. So we are deploying this in schools, and imagine if we could get many of these schools to use Bitcoin Cash in an NFC card, and they could even print their school ID on these cards. And they also have the wallet, link that card to, and outside the schools they can use it in the merchants, they can order in the marketplace. So it's really like an ecosystem approach. We can't just hit the promotion in one dimension, like while it's good to, for example, promote in social media, but most of the users, like maybe 80%, are like they don't have this exposure to social media, or at least they don't get much of their opinion from there. It's really from their day-to-day interactions. Like if we can make BCH visible, um, we can make it useful in like many aspects of their lives. Then that for me is kind of like very effective promotion. But yeah, it's the effort that we must do as a community. It should come from different like dimensions. So as you said, we don't have to be all like merchant on borders. So that would be a waste of, you know, resources to really focus on something. Each of us can tackle different problems uniquely, and then at some point somehow our efforts converge. Like I think a very good example of this from our experience is what any hedge and BCH Bull has developed. So it's, if you think about it, it's focused on like speculation. So it's you're speculating on what the future price of BCH relative to fiat. So but it actually aligns well with Paytaca, because we want to stabilize the value of the BCH that goes into the wallet of our users, the merchants, and with the upgrades in cash tokens that make it possible to create smart contracts that can make use of this of the AnyHedge protocol to stabilize value of a token, or to store the stabilized value in a token, in a stable token. Then it addresses one of the major friction points of the users of our wallet, or of those who want to spend in the merchants. Like people would just like to use BCH for payments. They don't care about speculation. And ironically, it is the speculators from the BCH bull side that help to maintain this kind of functionality. So it's really coming from different directions, and I like the mix of things that have been built in Bitcoin Cash. They all converge into it's bound to explode at some point. I wish to see that moment, like we have an explosion of value because of all the things that we have been building as a community, and they keep compounding and compounding and compounding. And yeah, I love those developments.
Well, I mean, like we said, you're on the last episode 2 years ago. Maybe by 2 years from now, we'll be, starting to see some payoff. These things take a little while, but it is just a tipping point phenomenon. Now, you say about building and about the merchant stuff. So we've got this new announcement. You literally just said today that you have released the first version of your WooCommerce plugin, which I believe will let people add BCH payments onto like WordPress sites and all kinds of things. You see all the time people joining the Telegram groups and saying, where can I get a WooCommerce plugin? How do I do this? How do I set up BCH payments? So you have that is just brand new. And then you also have your like payment hub and the POS and invoicing stuff that you've been worked on that we covered on the show a little while ago. So just walk us through all of this. What's new with the WooCommerce plugin, and then maybe also the payments, stuff. How is that going?
Yeah. So BCH, the number one use case of BCH is payments. So we want to make it easy for merchants to accept Bitcoin Cash for payments, both in brick and mortar shops. That's where our Paytaca POS has been very useful. And so we also want to cater to online sellers. So those who set up shops using e-commerce frameworks like WooCommerce in WordPress or in Shopify, Magento, a few other e-commerce software. So we would also like to make it easier for them to accept Bitcoin Cash for payment. So the common infrastructure to facilitate all these payments is the payment hub, what we call the payment hub. The payment hub is just a set of APIs where you can easily create invoices. So these are page like payment page. It's typical like the typical payment page when you pay with credit card or PayPal. What you can create this programmatically just by hitting some API endpoints. So that's what Payment Hub is, and it automatically takes care of the fees. So in a Bitcoin Cash transaction, we can put multiple outputs in a transaction. So we auto compute the fee and then put it in an output address which we own. So it's a fee paid to us, and then they can also put other outputs if they want to consolidate transactions in one single transaction on the BCH blockchain. So there's a lot of these things, and there's also a lot of other features that we would like to build into the payment hub, like automating the escrow, creating the escrow contract for like things that need escrow services. Subscriptions can also be something that is already very much possible now with all the upgrades we have in the Bitcoin Cash script. So it's this payment hub. It serves as the payments infrastructure, which also allows the invoice creators to receive notifications in real time when the payments are made. So this is where the WooCommerce plugin is making use of the payment hub infrastructure in order to make it easy for um, owners of WooCommerce shops. They don't have to fiddle around writing code to interact with the API endpoint. They just need to install this plugin into their WooCommerce shop and then enable the payment. And then, yeah, they can already accept Bitcoin Cash payments.
Yeah, the subscription stuff already is sounding fascinating to me. I've thought, I don't know how many times it's been mentioned on this show over the years, many times, that something like that would be great. I mean, we have the Patreon for us. It only just has a couple people because, I mean, honestly, I would rather prefer people just send in BCH donations, obviously. But, it's still a very valid and helpful use case is some people want to contribute on a rolling basis. And if we have some kind of subscription based payments or service, people can just put money in a wallet, it automatically pays out every so often, and then they can grab back the funds if they think they want to end their subscription. That's just such a powerful use case, and also some kind of integration of that then maybe even with like fund me campaigns. Between those two things, you can do an amazing amount of stuff where people are paying either based on seeing certain milestones being delivered or on a period of time with some conditions. Like that kind of stuff would just be so powerful for the podcast to be able to create like a fundraising campaign over it. At the moment, we just do every 10 episodes, but I would love to do it with 50 episodes and people could just already top up like as we go along, and then it just operates on a rolling window. Are you seeing, other demand for that as well too?
For
the subscriptions, like I guess I'm just saying this is just my use case, but you bringing it up makes me feel like, well, maybe you have other people that you are aware of that are saying, oh, what would be great next is subscriptions.
yeah. Oh, what we had in mind is to like basically replace subscription systems like using credit cards or PayPal. So it can have a lot of use cases. You can use it for the podcast, but I imagine many people would like to integrate with this kind of service. It's so as you mentioned, it's I don't think it's ever been done before, at least not in a way that people can easily integrate. So we have to test the waters. But this is the idea, right, of building an alternative financial system that is peer to peer, powered by Bitcoin Cash. We need to present the alternatives, like the alternatives of what the banks and the legacy financial systems are offering. Um, we've got to demonstrate we can do all these things in Bitcoin Cash without compromising the control of your money. So even if at this point, well, at least the WooCommerce has been like in demand. People have been asking us to develop it, and so there it is finally. So some of those who reached out to us to come up with this, they're already using it. I'm yet to see people who really would like to try the subscription, but I'm pretty sure once it's out and we can demonstrate that it works, people would love to try it.
Yeah, okay. Well, mark me down as one of the if you need any beta testers or anything like that, I would be bang up for that. So then tell me with the merchant network, so now you've got a bit of a hybrid strategy, it sounds like, where you were initially maybe focusing more on the physical merchant network, and now this new online tooling, like you said, can be used to power point of sale systems and so forth in the physical merchants, but it can also help expand the reach onto online merchants. So walk me through that. What is there some reason that you're making that change, and what's the current scale of both the physical merchants and the online merchants that you've got going? Do you expect to see more growth in the physical side or the online side? I know you're in several countries as well now too, right? So give me an update. How's Paytaca doing with all that?
Okay, so we made this map of the merchants that make use of the Paytaca POS at map.paytaca.com. We now have, like, if I'm not mistaken, 230 verified merchants. Most of them in Tacloban and Ormoc, so here in the Philippines. Some are in Cebu, which is a major city here. But we also have merchants from Taiwan. We have a very energetic supporter there, Gordon, who onboarded these merchants. And we've got a few recently from Lebanon, from other countries, so Lebanon, from the US, from Europe, a few. And there's one in Australia that Jason convinced to try the Paytaca POS. And to think that we just, like, in the beginning of the year, I think we were at 150 verified merchants. So now we're approaching 250. So it's, I mean, if you compare that to like other things, it's probably slow, but considering how how difficult to it is to scale this thing, I think it's a good progress, and we might be able to reach the 1,000 threshold before the end of the year. Because, for example, in our experience here in Tacloban and Ormoc, the visibility makes it easier to onboard the additional merchants. Like the merchants already got onboarded, they get to experience it, especially if the price is increasing, and they see that their sales got like 30% more in peso value. They refer to their friends, business owners, and when people see us, because we also do a lot of promotions and campaigns here we sponsor some events, we sponsor some gatherings, we sponsor school activities. So the more visible we are and the more merchants are already in the area, the easier it is for us to onboard the next ones. So I'd expect that it's going to at some point grow exponentially. It's just difficult in the beginning. It's like it may look like in the first few years nothing is happening in the grand scheme of things, but then we just persistently. So again, I touch on the persistence. We really need that. Um, we just do it persistently, and then suddenly it's going to exponentially grow.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I mean, 250 is already a pretty good number, but if you said it can potentially jump up to 1,000 by the end of the year, is that partly because you're looking at, for instance, shout out to Gordon and the work he's doing in Taiwan. Once you think he can seed a few in that area, then they will come into there? Or do you mean in your existing hubs, you're maybe starting to hit a critical threshold at which lots of other people will on board, right? Because then if you then you I don't know, like it's fine from a BCH point of view, really, whichever way it happens, but it's very cool as a demonstration the more concentrated it is, right? The same reason people were excited about like St. Kitts or going to Townsville. Once you're over a certain threshold in a particular physical location, that just becomes an excellent place for people to do promotional videos, or for even people who are commenting online to point out, look, BCH is working. We've got a shining example where it's happening. Do you see that kind of tipping point coming maybe in the Philippines, where you've got the strongest adoption?
Yeah, in fact, that's been the strategy, like to focus on areas where we already have a concentration of merchants. So we continuously come up with marketing campaigns, and I always, like, whenever we have the temptation to like go to other places, because yeah, why not? But I always like pull my team back to focus on the areas where we have a concentration of merchants, because that's the easiest to expand. And we are I can personally see a time when, like, uh, we can have more and more merchants getting on board and more and more users, simply because we are like focused on growth areas, like for example Tacloban or Mock, and maybe if resources allow, we can also allocate resources to focus on Cebu, and eventually just by not like spreading our resources too thin, right? So we want to make good use of our limited resources so that we can capitalize on what we have already built. So we keep doing that way, and then we introduce other products and features that we can test on this developing market, developing closed loop economy here. And it's just like enriching the experience of both the customers and the merchants, and which is really nice to see if you experience it, like, you know, on a regular basis. Like myself, I've when I go, for example, to Ormo to spend the weekend, I always make it a point to spend on our merchants, and I feel how like liberating, and at the same time satisfying to see that I can spend on many merchants in the city. And if only more people know, and if only we can address more of there's still some friction points that we would like to eliminate. We can address those, we can keep improving the product, then I can see the possibility, like people in mass trying Paytaca and Bitcoin Cash, and then like the experience. Because in the Philippines, for example, in the local setting, we used to be using cash, the physical cash, a lot. We are like catching up with all the neighbors in Singapore, for example. They've transitioned to digital cash a long time, to digital money. But for the Philippines, it took the pandemic to shake up the people, like literally force them to use digital money. And then after that, after they experience it, they realize, why have we been using cash this whole time? It's just very convenient to have like an e-wallet to transfer money. So we are waiting for that moment to happen. Well, not just waiting, but we are actively working towards making that happen as well for BCH and for Paytaca. That suddenly at some point they will realize, having experienced it, why have we been using like these old forms of money? So yeah,
No, it's
that's
amazing.
something we've been working.
Okay, so tell me, given I just looked it up, the population of the Philippines, for everyone who doesn't know, which was including me, is 116 million people, right, in the Philippines. So if you talk about like a critical mass of 10 million, or maybe the first 100 million users worldwide of BCH, literally that could all happen in the Philippines. We could literally just get those 100 million in theory, right? Obviously, that's not how it's going to go down. You know, it will happen all at once. But theoretically, it could just happen in the Philippines. How much support, let's say, for these 250 merchants that you have right now, do you have to give to them? Because obviously, every new merchant you onboard expands your network effect, but it also kind of adds some support burden, right? That they're going to have questions, they're going to have problems. Maybe they even want to talk to you to expand things further because they see it's going great. They start attracting new business, and you can make scalable technology and systems to meet those demands. But every new merchant is nevertheless going to be an additional burden in some sense. So, how much work do you have to do to keep those merchants in the loop, and what kind of systems have you got to keep that running smoothly?
I would say it's very minimal because the Paytaca POS is we made it very simple to use for cashiers. It doesn't require much guidance after the initial training. And usually what happens is, once we onboard the merchant, they train the new people in their company. They don't call us for that. They can easily, because it's so easy to use, so they can just easily guide the new ones. Um, the thing that could take some work is when they want to cash out to pesos, because they send a message. So when they have like a few people transacting in their shops, they send a message, and then we still manually buy their BCH and then send the pesos to their accounts. Um, but these things can be addressed by automation. So further automating this process, and even that is not much of a work for us. It's at least right now, it's not such a burden. And if we come to a point where we really scale, like there's a lot of volume happening, automation can help. There's a lot that we can do to enhance the automation of these things.
Is there any way to open that pool of liquidity to the rest of the BCH network? Like, you have all kinds of people who are interested in buying more BCH, and obviously we're talking about the bank runs and so forth, right? But if there was some sort of Paytaca service, you guys just have, I don't know, a TransferWise account or whatever. I send you the money and I get the BCH back. Obviously, then you're operating as kind of an exchange, but I don't know, I know you have the P2P marketplace and this kind of stuff. Like, is there a lot of potential there? Because if you're going to be onboarding lots of merchants, that pool of liquidity is going to grow enormously, right?
Yeah, that's true. Um, Well, we have the P2P exchange, and which, by the way, recently has been gaining some usage. Um, that could be a way. Like I myself, I'm selling in the P2P exchange. So I have both buy and sell ad. And when the merchants cash out, I sell part of that BCH in the P2P exchange. It's already like it's already circular because the new users of the app, they want to load BCH, and they see there's a way to do it in the app, which is actually in the background is powered by the P2P exchange. So they buy BCH. If they happen to see my ad, so they buy from me, or from other people who already have other ads there. And my BCH, some of them came from the merchants who sold it to me. So there's already like a closed economy here in the through the P2P exchange, but it's global. So if somebody puts up an ad there who would accept pesos or dollars through TransferWise, for example, or for Wise or PayPal or whatever, then yeah, it's we are able to share that the liquidity to the rest of the world. That's
Hey,
already there. We just need the volume.
I just want to interrupt real quick. I'm going to like refresh my connection to you, Joemar, because the video is like spazzing out a little bit. Give me just one moment. Refresh.
The voice of God, Jet, is like 3 times louder than he probably should be.
Oh, of course.
That's
I
how.
can
Not 3 times louder. I'm exaggerating.
How's this?
150%. Yeah, a little better.
Okay. All right. Okay. We're all good now.
Okay.
Yeah, keep going.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, that's definitely amazing. And tell me about briefly about the online part then. Okay. So now you've got the WooCommerce plugin and the APIs. How is there any difference, obviously, between onboarding people physically and virtually? Why are you expecting to see a lot of growth on that virtual side? Like that was more resources that I guess you could have put into doing physical merchants, which sounds like it's going well. So why this kind of hybrid approach now?
So yeah, we literally just pushed the first version today, few hours before the podcast. But so right now, we just push this to those people who asked us to develop this. So we're yet to get their feedback about it. And just like all the other things that we have been building, we value feedback from our customers. And so we intend to keep improving this and see how the usage goes. If the demand increases, and with a little bit of promotion, more promotion from this point on, we'll see how it picks up. Obviously, on the physical side of things, the physical payments, we already have more experience, more lessons as well learned along the way. But this thing is new, the online payment for us. It's the immediate things we need to do is to promote it in the WordPress plugin database or something. So we need to submit that there and see how the usage picks up and the feedback from early users. And if there's demand for like plugins for other platforms, I suppose Shopify users would like to try this out as well. So that will be one of the next plugins we will develop for Shopify. So yeah, it's difficult to say how it's gonna develop from here. But yeah, we'll listen to feedback. We listen to how the market is taking it.
Okay, all right. Yeah, sounds good. Okay, a little bit more experimental. And I also wanted to get your thoughts as well on stable coins. Not only has that been happening in the BCH ecosystem, I would actually say I've been very impressed with our efforts so far. Moria V1 is now out. Matthew has announced Parity USD that he's going to be putting out at some time this year, probably. We already have obviously BCH Bull, and maybe at some stage they will start converting that into different sort of cash tokens or solutions, but we already still have some stability solutions there as well. So we seem to be not only keeping up with the market, but maybe even getting ahead of it, at least on the technological front, if not the sort of liquidity and adoption front just yet. Do you see that being a huge push? Because also in the rest of the crypto industry, that's becoming very, very topical, I would say, partly driven by the abject failure of the BTC community to make their thing payments focused at all. So to the extent that cryptocurrency is known for payments, it's kind of finding its way into stable coins. And there has been meme videos of the BTC conference earlier this year where they were saying stablecoins, all the people are just talking about stablecoins, especially all the sort of government and regulator people. They're much more, it's very telling actually that they're much more interested in that than they are in, store of value speculating to get rich. So stablecoins does seem to be a big and growing story in 2025. How does that play into what Paytaca is doing? Do you see a lot of demand for people wanting stablecoin integrations? Is that going to be in the POS or just the general state of BCH with regards to stablecoins?
From the standpoint of trying to onboard people to use BCH for payments, we see that there is an urgent need to have stable coins. So it's good that we have MUSD now. PyUSD is coming. We also are developing our own stable coin, stable hedge. We should have had this like a year ago, 2 years ago, but I'm happy enough that it's already happening, because for Paytaca, we would like to create products that people will use on a daily basis and use it for payments on a daily basis. BCH is because of its fluctuating price value relative to the local currency, it's a turn off for many people to keep thinking about whether their money has gone up or it's much less in the next 10 minutes. So it's a source of stress. It's a source of friction, and it kind of it's a bit of a mismatch to the kind of value that we would like to deliver. We want to create products that give people convenience, peace of mind, and not get stressed about how the value of their money fluctuates. There's a place for like for some people, they're comfortable with the fluctuations, but for many people we onboard, we convince to use Paytaca to purchase in our marketplace, for example, or to experience how convenient it is to pay with BCH in the merchants. One of the very first things they notice is the change in the value, like the conversion into Philippine pesos. So, and then at that point, when they see it, you need to explain, and then it turns off like, okay, it becomes a deeper discussion into things that I don't care anymore. So as a customer, it becomes a major friction point. And so even before MUSD was developed, we have been like working on trying to tokenize any hedge. We've been working in the background with the GP guys to work out, tokenizing any hedge. And a few months back we released our like beta version, alpha version of Stable Edge. We made it already available in the wallet where you can easily freeze the BCH value into USD value, and you can unfreeze it. So and we made it very convenient. At this point, when we release it, it's like hidden by a setting, but eventually we would like to incorporate that more into the experience of our wallet users. Like when they receive BCH, there should be an option to easily freeze that into USD. When they pay in the POS, there should be an option for them to select whether to pay with BCH or with the stable coin or any cash token for that matter. Since anyway we can automate the swapping in Cauldron, so we can do that as well. So basically, we would like to see a kind of wallet that will make it seamless to switch from stablecoin to BCH when the need arises. Like if they become comfortable, like allocating half of their BCH holdings into stablecoin, if that gives them more peace of mind, and the BCH is allowed to fluctuate so that they don't miss on any price action in the future. We give them all these options. And since we are focused in the Philippines, it's been in our wish list if the BCH Bull supports PHP, the Philippine pesos. So there were a lot of steps for us to get to the point where we can create the stable hedge PHP. So basically our stable Philippine peso token. There's been a lot of steps, and I'm happy that just today, actually, or yesterday, we got some news from the GP team that all these steps have been done. So there's already an aura already, and there's already liquidity for PHP in BCH Bull. That was silently again launched yesterday, and then we have to do then our part of tokenizing this so that we can finally have like a seamless experience, at least for the Philippines users. They can see that they can transact in PHP or in BCH if they want, or vice versa, anytime. So yeah, that's the state of things right now, at least from the stablecoin front from our end.
I love hearing that. I love hearing the GP guys are always so busy. It's amazing how much stuff they get done as a team. But even just any of those collaborations in the ecosystem, I absolutely love to see it, because I'm always, of course, only seeing the BCH ecosystem from my perspective. So I know what I'm doing. I know the collaborations I'm doing with everyone, but then everyone is working amongst each other. And that's the best because you don't hear about it usually until something is like already coming out of it. So it's always like, Christmas or something. It's always like fresh surprises as unexpected, or even expected team ups start delivering results. So that's amazing. I think that's fantastic, and I'm looking forward to seeing that. It sounds like it will be very popular. So speaking of these real world, payments and people using BCH for payments, mostly in the Philippines, we've had over the last couple of weeks, interestingly, some stats that have come out about crypto payments. First, we had Jet on the next slide as well. If you could just show, we've got the payment stats from PorkFest, the libertarian festival in New Hampshire. Somebody did a little bit of a survey and put out some stats which showed about a quarter of people there on the ground were using Dash. About a third maybe were using Monero. Bitcoin Cash came in at number 3 with about I don't know, what's this, maybe 15%. And then slightly beat out BTC, the same, and you had Zcash, Kwai, Xano, Doge, and Litecoin filling out the rest of it. So BCH actually reasonably well represented. Of course, where maybe smaller on the market caps, but still actually quite heavily favored, relatively speaking. But Monero did better than us, and Dash did a lot better. I know they have a very strong community on the ground there. Also, Milan and the team at NanoGPT put out their stats of who is using what coins on their platform. So they have Monero actually at number 1 with nearly 43%, and then Nano with nearly 25%, then LTC 10%, BTC 10%, ETH 5%, Verse at 3.2% because of their Bitcoin.com integration, I guess. And BCH is actually number 7 at only 1.28%. So we're still, in the running, but we're clearly not taking huge market share there. And then finally, the BitPay statistics that they regularly published, BCH was in December at about 9% and number 4, but has fallen to number 5 at about 6% of their payments, behind BTC, LTC, Ethereum, and then Doge also crept up a little bit there. So this is kind of some interesting numbers. I don't generally put huge stock in that. Like, I feel we could overreact to these statistics. Other communities like Litecoin or Dogecoin or whatever are very proud, I guess, as they should be, to be boasting about if they're the number 1 coin or they're seeing a lot of adoption. But I personally have never put a lot of stock into these. It would be nice if we could be number 1, but my reservation stems from the fact that, one, like you said, BCH is doing a lot of different things. A lot of these other coins, Nano, Monero, Dogecoin, they're not doing Cauldron DeFi. They're not releasing stable coins. They're not, building the strongest physical merchant networks in different places around the world. There's a lot of things going on in BCH. They're not doing Abla and different protocol upgrades, right? There's a lot of different things going on in BCH. So given that we're not all in on this, I feel like if we were, we could probably beat them all at this, but our strategy is to have more irons in the fire, which I like. So that's the first reason. And the second reason is because you kind of get a bit of sample bias here, in that, like, Porkfest, we came in at number 3 because I know BCH is fairly liked there, and then Dash was in at number 1, which I wouldn't have expected anywhere else. NanoGPT, maybe they've done a better job of marketing to the Monero community, and BitPay, they added all that registration stuff, which the BCH community typically doesn't, really want to truck with or bother about. So that's maybe even just my explanations, but the general theme is that, for instance, all the payments happening on Paytaca or on the Bitcoin.com register app or peer-to-peer on BCH are not being represented in these stats. And the BCH, or like prompt cash as well, same thing. The BCH community has a lot of their own sort of siloed technology and infrastructure that doesn't show up on any of these generic multi-coin solutions or surveys. So given you're in the middle of exactly one of those services, do you have any thoughts about how much BCH needs to be represented or pay attention to kind of boosting our visibility or our results on these kind of statistics?
Well, at least in our systems, BCH is number 1, 100%.
Exactly.
This is the only coin we're using.
Exactly. But do you think, do we need to put more focus on this? Do we need to be banging down the door of all these services? BCH users, go and try these things, or do we just forget about them and just crush it in our own lane?
At least for me now, it's I won't focus too much energy on that. Yeah. As you said, we have a number of stuff we've been doing on our own, like uniquely from these other chains, and especially if we have discovered like this, we know exactly where our strengths are. We better just focus on those things.
Yeah, completely agree. All right. Well, I'm glad we're on the same page about that. But it's still very interesting data to have a look at. And yeah, it's on the slide. So anybody can take a look at that and look up the sources and make up their own mind. It's always nice to see BCH represented in there, sort of at moderate strength. And I sort of expect that at a certain point, the BCH only ecosystem will grow to such a point that then it will just start flooding it, taking over all these other options, but that will be a trailing indicator, not a leading indicator. Okay, you're also innovating, I guess, with your new LIFT token. LIFT stands for Leveraging Incentives for Financial Transformation. It's a token with 1 billion supply, and the proposed allocation breaks down as token sale to the public, 20%, teams and advisors, 15%, ecosystem growth, 15%, community incentives, 30%, partnerships, 5%, liquidity pool, 5%, and reserve fund, 10%. So this is sort of a fundraising, I guess, effort on your part to announce this token and then do a public sale in 3 rounds. So the first round, the seed round, is 1.5 cents per token, but has a 1 million coin minimum buy-in, so at least $15,000 USD. Then there's a private round at 2.5 cents per token with 100K minimum, and then the public round is 5 cents per token but 1K minimum. So people who are interested in any of these rounds can look it up on paytaca.com/token. Some of the listed benefits are access to extra app features, reduced platform fees, and potentially influence in governance and decision making. Walk me through what's happening here. What's the LIFT token all about? Joemar?
Basically, oh, am I lost?
Yeah, you're back.
Audio?
You're back. LIFT token. Tell me
I'm
about
back.
it.
Okay. Yeah. So more holistically, so Lyft is, of course, it's a way for us as well to raise funds. But the bigger view of this is really right there. It's about incentives, because the one part of our effort here is to build the merchant network, and the other thing that we would like to get going is building the community of users. And it's like using fiat systems, it's hard to dislodge from people, like and to get them to try what Paytaca is offering. It will take more than just sponsorships and events, or getting more visibility in terms of posters, videos, or whatever we do online and offline. We need a shakeup. Like we need more incentives to our users, but also in a way that we can catch up, or we can sustainably keep up in terms of the growth in the volume of transactions, for example, which also equates to the fees that we can collect. Like, for example, for those who are using Payment Hub, or those who are using the marketplace where we derive. So we want to incentivize usage of Paytaca and of PCH. And by doing so, we are able to, because the hardest thing to build on the demand side is having a loyal, also not a community guy, but asking from those who have done this in other fields, in other areas. It's really about like creating like a community that where you design the incentives well, so that you can, it becomes a way to rally them to a cause or to an end. And so with the tokens, we plan to give out the incentives. So it's like 30% of the allocation. And most of this will be distributed early on to get people to lock in, like keep using the app so that they can gain rewards in these tokens. They can stake these tokens in order to get more rewards for the actions. Like when they transact in the merchant, they get extra lift tokens for that. When they refer people, so we have tied up our referral system, which we are about to launch also in the next maybe month. So we have a referral program where those who refer and those who get referred both get lift tokens. So we're designing a reward system for different kinds of interactions using the lift token as a reward. And when they do have this, they can then avail of extra app features, or for using Payment Hub, and then they can get to participate on like the direction that Paytaca can take in terms of what features to prioritize, which activities to focus on, and such things. And yeah, so the goal here is to have a to have more knobs to tweak about how to align people based on incentives. Really.
Yeah, sounds good. I mean, this is kind of the payoff, I guess, from all the work that has been going into the cash tokens infrastructure and development at the protocol level. It's then found its way into wallets. And then, of course, we had the first few rounds of sort of the meme competition and people launching meme tokens, which then developed into more serious projects like MUSD, and Parity USD is coming. And then now it's starting to come into projects launching with financial incentives. So this is really great to see in the ecosystem. You can see the maturing of our technology stack, opening new doors in real time for people that are considering to maybe invest in the seed round, the private round, or the public round. What would you say to them? What is the prime benefits or reasons that they should consider being a part of this sale? Like that's the 20% token sale, and then there's like a lot more than that going to the community incentives, for example, and also to the team and advisors, of course, for you guys to make all this happen. So why should the people jump into the token sale? What's the strongest reason for them to do that?
We believe that at this point, so we have built a number of products already. We have been building the network. We are at the right time to like speed up uh, by leveraging on incentives. And so get to part of sense. And the idea is that they can put in these resources early. But as we keep building the network, keep building the usage, and also translates as well to the revenue for the company. At some point, when this token reaches the exchanges, when we put liquidity, for example, in Cauldron, And I'm so happy we have that already, the DEX. So this kind of strategy can work out. So at the moment, we invite people to buy the token at discounted rates, but when it hits the exchanges, and at a time where we think we can take maximum advantage of the resources we have from a token sale, the price in the exchanges will be at the very least 5x of the price compared to when the seed participants bought the token. So there is a corresponding increase in the price of the token as exchange in the DEX, which is proportional to how much Paytaca has grown, or how much our products are being used, and how much revenue we are getting from all this activity as a result of the incentives coming from the tokens. So the hope is that we have designed the system so that all these incentives through these tokens translate to a sustainable tokenomics, so that later on the early buyers will benefit by buying at a really discounted rate, discounted price, and sell it in the secondary market at like 5x to 10x of the price. So the lower you can buy it now, the cheaper you can buy it now, the better. Not just in terms of the returns when the price goes up later on in the secondary market, but also in terms of seeing the community grow because of your involvement in uplifting, the adoption of BCH through the things that we have been doing in Paytaca.
Yeah, amazing. And this is something that I think is going to become more common and really needs to sort of catch on as an idea in the BCH community. I think we already actually have quite a strong focus on this, but certainly as the community grows, it will be important to keep reiterating, which is that if you are a substantial BCH holder, a substantial relative to yourself, then you benefit from reinvesting in the network itself, right? All the products and services. Obviously, it should be a market. It doesn't mean to say things should operate on charity, although they can, but it's just like investing in, for instance, this show or anything that is providing value and that you can see is doing good work to spread the network will ultimately then flow back around in increasing the price and traction of BCH. And that's good for everyone involved. So I can see how these new token programs are probably going to become more and more common. I've talked with Callisti about doing one maybe for Selene. There's no details about that, but it's something we're considering. There's also like an AFOG token, or even Fiendish doing his token, right? I think people are going to increasingly experiment with these kind of incentives and monetization schemes. So I think it's going to be a promising new trend, especially as we're using all our own infrastructure to deliver it. Okay, so that's the new and latest from Paytaca. We also have some news recently from Jason Dreisner, who is just perpetually producing new and innovative stuff for VCH. And his latest thing is called Quantum Root. The quote that I'm going to read out here is from what he posted on Twitter. Quote, announcing a developer preview of Quantum Root, a new kind of vault offering full 256-bit classical 128-bit quantum security strength without relying on new cryptography. It uses only the mining-proven SHA-256 algorithm. Quantum Root is an ultra-efficient post-quantum vault for Bitcoin Cash. It's optimized for business and saving use cases. With cross-input aggregation via introspection, sweep transactions are 15% smaller per additional input than today's single signature pay-to-public key hash P2PKH wallets. post-quantum spends cost around 1 cent per UTXO in on-chain transaction fees for typical 2-input single signature transactions. With cash tokens-based aggregation, post-quantum sweeps of 400 plus unique addresses or 800 plus inputs are less than 10 cents. So Jason is basically saying that he has put out the kind of very early, it's not even really a beta, maybe a alpha or even earlier level software that is already viable today to create a Bitcoin Cash quantum secured wallet, but that after the next round of upgrades, potentially in 2026, will then have a 10 or 100x fee improvement down to just only a couple of cents per transaction, much like most of BCH, right? So right now, this technology is apparently, according to him, already possible, but it might cost, $1 or a few dollars to make these transactions. But with some further optimization, it will come down to 1 cent. Now, there's a couple of really, really important things about this announcement that I want to highlight. The first is that, as he says, there is no new cryptography involved here. A lot of the debate about quantum related things is people saying, okay, are we going to use this signature scheme or that signature scheme because we need something that is quantum protected? Now, obviously, you do potentially need to have that, but the downside is that if you're adding some new cryptography, it hasn't had very long to mature in the marketplace, so it could also be potentially vulnerable, right? The most reliable cryptographic techniques are going to be ones that have shown resilience by being around for quite a while. But this quantum root doesn't use any new cryptography. It only uses SHA-256, which is the same algorithm used in mining, which is very, very fortunate because we don't quote unquote know, but we're pretty confident in SHA-256 because if quantum computing can break SHA-256, then all the mining infrastructure is screwed as well. So we already have a dependency on that, and it's already been around for a very long time. So it's actually an ideal candidate for us to kind of double down on. And it means that we can have potentially quantum secured stuff without needing to take a risk on a newer algorithm. He also mentioned later on that he will be targeting libauth inclusion and release for this stuff with the 2026 upgrade, which means that potentially if he puts the tech into libauth in 2026, then it can be in the XO stack stuff that GP is developing. It can go into wallets like Selene as well fairly easily. So if this is rolling out on mainnet at mid 2026, then it's possible by late 2026 or let's say maybe mid 2027, giving extra time because things always take longer than you expect, we will already be having quantum secured wallets, or the potential at least to put experimental coins protected from quantum in maybe subsections of wallets, things like that, by 2027. So given that 2030 is kind of the time frame that I've heard that we need to be ready as an ecosystem for any kind of quantum innovations, this is pretty bullish news. I'd say that the BCH ecosystem is already looking on track to have strong early tech live on mainnet in production for people to already be using potentially as early as late 2026 or sometime in 2027, and we've still got room to play with there before quantum becomes a huge disaster. I'm sure you've taken a look at this, Joemar. What did you make of this quantum root announcement?
It's very timely because like recently, or maybe it's a cycle. From time to time, they keep floating these articles about quantum computing breaking the cryptography that secures Bitcoin and all the Bitcoin derived blockchains. So at the same time, it's a demonstration of how powerful BCH script has become. Like we're not just limited anymore to the built-in cryptography like ECDSA and Schnorr signature algorithms, um, because the Bitcoin Cash script has advanced already to a point where we can implement um, verification of other signature algorithms just using BCH script. So without introducing new opcodes for this. And so this is a good demonstration and a very timely one, because now we have protection from, I don't know. However, I mean, regardless if the rumors are true about the quantum computers breaking the breaking Bitcoin, um, regardless if it's true or not, it's possible already to secure Bitcoin Cash from such events um, already using the current state of Bitcoin Cash script. And actually, this is something that a problem that we have encountered, because we would like to develop this NFC card that stores a smart contract address, but we want to make use of public key cryptography that is already existing in most commercially available cards. And what we've learned is that these smart cards that are available out there, they are using a different signature algorithm. So although they can produce signatures, it's not something that we can verify, because they are not using the same algorithm, or some of them that use the same algorithm but they use a different curve. So we can verify those signatures in smart contract in Bitcoin Cash. At least not using an existing opcode. But because we have such a capable VM now, we don't need to depend on opchecksig anymore, or on any built-in signature verifier. We can implement the verifier in the smart contract. Maybe not with cash script yet, because it needs to catch up with a lot of the developments yet that have been introduced. But with cache assembly, so this raw opcodes, which I barely understand, by the way. It's way beyond my head when I read the article, but I can get a sense of what's happening there. So it's just in this case, at least, introducing a way to verify one of the quantum resistant signatures. So this is a very good example for us as well, working on that NFC card problem. That yeah, we can actually verify signatures using other algorithms, because we have a very capable VM now.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. And it just comes from years and years and years of slow, careful, powerful upgrades stacking up one on top of the other. And I mean, I've said it on this show, I don't know how many times, and I think everybody like logically understands this concept that if you're just building, just brick by brick by brick persistence, like we've talked about before, but there's been a lot of hype and a lot of this kind. But now it's not even getting to the point that BCH has been able to catch up to DeFi on Ethereum. Now we've got Cauldron. At first it was catching up to, well, surpassing BTC, catching up to the rest of the cryptocurrency industry. And now we're even getting to the point that we are starting to release cutting edge stuff that is not in any other ecosystem anywhere, on top of the fact that we still have the legacy, Bitcoin brand. We don't have a pre-mine. We've got all the coins distributed. We have access to the BCH, the BTC mining hash rate. As we grow, we can basically siphon off their hash rate, right? So BCH is just in a fantastically strong position now. And when we talked earlier about how does BCH get some more developer attention or get some more positive interest, this is this is really the kind of thing, because it's just the BCH community once again being one step ahead of the problem, right? In the same way that everybody was thrilled about Abla because it meant that, okay, it's not going to be a problem in the future. Once we've already got momentum, we're not going to suddenly run into some scaling roadblock. In the same way, if we can already just implement, test, roll out quantum stuff across a large section of the industry, if it never becomes a problem, well then, okay, that's good. But if and when it does, if we're already got, sort of the umbrellas, like we've already just protected most of the ecosystem, that's just a huge benefit that is going to be so obvious as other ecosystems fall apart in a crisis. A crisis is the last time that you want to be making some sudden experimental moves to try and fix the situation. Is obviously better if you can. Prevention is better than cure. So in that way, I think we're really, looking strong on that front. Now, there was one other little sting in the tail of this whole situation, which is that Jason wrote in the blog post that people who had BTC in Taproot addresses are essentially screwed because they have not only not helped them against quantum attacks, they've actually made it worse. Your coins in Taproot are less secure than if there was no Taproot quote unquote upgrade. Of course, it was not an upgrade, it's just a hoax basically. But regardless, just laughing. I love using that word. It's so true. Anyway, they quote unquote upgraded, and they're now years later finding out that it was actually a downgrade. I pinged Reardon on Twitter about that, and he didn't even write back. So you love to see it. I'm sure there's just some head scratching going on over there as to how the genius, the Gigabrain BTC devs have got it wrong once again. Is there anything you make of that? Any further comments on the quantum or your chance to dunk on the BTC guys there, Joemar?
I think we all had this suspicion, right? And many of these are true, turned out to be true, that much of the developments being done on the BTC side is like coming up with something to do to delay doing the right upgrades, or just messing up the scene so that they can keep doing, keep breaking, keep crippling Bitcoin further, so that it won't be useful for anything else other than the supposed what do you call it, digital gold token. So we have that lightning network, Taproot, and I believe there's a lot of things also going on recently that just muddle the issue, and probably something will be done at some point, but it will be like the same stuff. It's just delaying or even crippling the chain more, and so yeah, but we already know that. I mean, I'm glad to be on the right side of history, and I see the spirit in. I see that we have been doing things, in the like realizing the vision of a really peer-to-peer electronic cash system. We are not bothered by the things that are happening out there. So we just keep building and building new things, features that enhance, that help us execute better on that narrative. While the BTC is like it's it's been a wreck, and everything that they do just complicates matters even more. So yeah, I don't know if I'd be happy, but looking at the BCH side of things, I'm happy. I'm not sure what to feel about the BTC guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, let's say the quantum stuff is great, but we also have so it's already possible today, like I said, at the cost of probably a couple of dollars to make these kind of transactions, which is pretty amazing because if somebody just cooks up, oh look, here's my modified Selene or Paytaca or whatever, and here we go, we've got a quantum vault. It would be cool just as a proof of concept, but in any case. Jason is obviously hoping for a bunch of upgrades in 2026 to make these much more efficient. Do you have any thoughts on the upcoming upgrades that are sort of being discussed, debated right now? Loops, pay to script, bitwise math, and op eval, which has since become op define / invoke. What's your take from the Paytaca perspective on all those potential upgrades?
I haven't looked closely at all of them, but I can already appreciate the loops because we are running into these kinds of things in when we write our contracts. Like we wish we can just do a loop, but we cannot. So this for us. It's good to have, and all the other operations like a bitwise math would also be good to have. It will help us implement much more like complex solutions that are not possible yet at this point. But we already have a lot of good things in place that we can even barely catch up with coming up with products that make use of this. But I think the 1 year upgrade is I mean it's better. The timing is better because it gives us some time to develop at least like some demonstrations, if not full blown products that make use of the upgrades that happened in the past year or in this year. So I'm looking forward to diving more deeply into what these upgrades are doing. But yeah, these are welcomed developments, unless we see, for example, that there is a potential problem about one or a few of these proposed changes, which is the beauty about the chip process. Like anybody can take a look and review if you can see a potential problem, you can flag to whoever champions the opcode, or you can express your concern to the community. And so there's a conversation, less toxic conversation compared to other communities. Um, yeah, I love this. These are welcome developments. But yeah, I have to spend more time to really try to understand the possible pitfalls or red flags, if any,
Yes.
in these chips.
Yes. Okay. So generally, loops and bitwise, provisional thumbs up. Pay to script, Optifine needs a closer look. But I mean, we're in July, right? So it's going to be the second half of the year. It's when it comes to crunch time. So I'm sure more and more people will be looking into those as we get closer. What about the 1 minute blocks? Now that's not really proposed for this year, but there's been a lot of chat about that, let's say, back and forth over the last year or so, especially being heavily in the payments part of things. Do you have a view, positive or negative, about potentially reducing the block time?
Um, I have some reservations about this one. Like um, the impact that it will do like for example, our focus has been to grow our network of merchants and facilitate the payments. And in our experience, because it's a, it's like a it's closed loop, so we don't depend so much on exchanges, or at least that's the idea. So we don't see this as something urgent in our experience. So um, our users see how fast the payments go, and thanks to the safe zero confirmation transactions in Bitcoin Cash. And so for me, this is not urgent. This is not this. We can take time to discuss the implications of this. I believe there are side effects of this in the mining side of things. So perhaps we should spend more time to study what the implications of this are. But from the adoption point of view, except for interacting with exchanges, it has like almost minimal impact. Like things are good already as they are in terms of the experience, because we have zero conf. And if we really want to strengthen catching all those double spends, we have the double spend proof already in place. So yeah, maybe there is some value to, like, for those people who frequently interact with exchanges. Yeah, but I at least for us, that's not our focus.
Yeah, that's really interesting, actually, because there's been, I mean, obviously people have a variety of views. I think things are trending positive on this idea of the 1 minute blocks. Of course, also, yeah, subject to research, particularly into the effect on mining centralization and so forth. There is already some research about that, but there will be more, of course, going on, and it's not proposed for this year, so it's not really a rush. Like you say. But it's interesting because certainly people who are more involved in the zero conf parts of the BCH ecosystem, like yourself, that's a frequent thing that I've heard is, yeah, I don't know, like, I don't know that we really need it. But then you have other people who are more involved in, like, for instance, we had the stats from BitPay there before. BitPay have, I'm not sure on the exact latest state of things, but either BitPay or services like BitPay often do have a one confirmation requirement, for instance. So people who are interacting with those services can get a bit hung high and dry, when it would be great if BitPay would just get their act together and accept zero conf, but for their own reasons, they won't do that. So this is partly suggested as BCH is going to grow, we're going to have more and more people in those fringe use cases. And because confirmations is such a default part of the way pretty much every cryptocurrency works, interestingly, not all of them, but the vast majority of them, people already are familiar with that. And so it's kind of more a case of, well, if we can fix this problem, kind of we should. And there's also some discussion about increasing DeFi use cases, where they often also have a kind of one confirmation gap, where if there's a big difference between zero conf and one confirmation in various kinds of smart contracts or exchanges, or whatever, as well as obviously with like centralized exchanges. So anyway, it's just something for everyone to be aware of, and it's very interesting to hear that you're on the sort of zero conf is maybe good enough side of the train. You don't have users complaining about interacting with exchanges then, I guess, or not frequently.
No, because the exchanges are you take a lot of hoops and loops to buy BCH from there, so we don't even recommend it. and so we encourage them to use P2P exchange to buy from the itself. We have a cash in. Yeah, we discourage them in a way from interacting with exchanges.
All right, Joemar, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
can hear you. Yes.
All right. Okay. Well, yeah. That's I guess that's interesting then. But I have noticed a trend of some. Yeah, there seems to be that split. Not a lot of people are really against 1 minute blocks. I haven't seen too much of that, but there's certainly a split between people who feel a strong need for it and are kind of like, I feel the pain point and I would love to see that upgrade, versus people who are more ambivalent. They're like, well, you know, maybe it would be good or maybe it wouldn't be good. We're going to need to see some more research and discussion of that, but there's not a strong need for it. So it's kind of quite an interesting insight into, as the BCH network grows, of course, we're accommodating more and more different people with their different points of view and different reasons and methods for interacting with the network. So it's a little bit of a sort of test of the chip process in that way as well too, which is really interesting. Okay, I just want to hit very quickly on community comment of the week. We had someone on Twitter say Bit Institutions said, man, these Bitcoin Cash fans are like cockroaches, when I was busy arguing with some BTC guy, and that turned into a bit of a meme with the Bitcoin Cash cockroaches. I saw Fiendish was just posting about that as well, that he's a what's it called, a big cockroach hoarder. a new BCH acronym. He's a big cockroach hoarder. And just the idea, it's quite funny, like cockroaches, they've got a lot going for them as a marketing mascot, because they are resilient and virtually unkillable, and if you don't stop them, like, you can't just ignore them, because they will just take over everything. You have to actively go to war against them if you want, but everybody who's ever tried has failed. So despite being the sort of they're also looked down on. They're sort of lowly creatures in most people's imagination, even though they just continually put up results. So I think that there's a lot going for them, as tying into the BCH ecosystem. It's also like, we can't be slandered as like these stupid shitcoiners if you say, yeah, we're the cockroaches. Like, there you go. Like, it's just there's no way to denigrate people who just identify with that branding. So anyway, that's just to say we'll see whether or not people are going to be latching onto that. It seems to have been organically popular so far. What do you think, Joemar? Are you a cockroach?
So obviously it was supposed to be an insult, but yeah, I mean, the reaction has been, yeah, we are proud to be cockroaches. Just talking earlier about persistence, and I see that a lot from many of us builders in the space. Very persistent. Like all those things we can identify our
Yeah. I mean, we'll see how much traction, whether that's a flash in the pan or whether it kind of maintains. But I thought it was funny as well too, because we call the brooches, like the Bitcoin Cash roaches, which I like because it's like bro roaches, and also because it could be a pun, like broach a broach is like you can't broach the subject. Something that is taboo cannot be broached. Or so I like that as well.
I see. I didn't get that one. I didn't get the brooch thing. Now I understand.
Bitcoin Cash roach is like, bro, are you a roach or not? You know, and then broaching the subject, or even a brooch it's like a quadruple pun basically, because a brooch is also a very valuable like piece of jewelry, like something that you would protect, like that people used to like flee the Holocaust, stuff like that. They would have all their like very valuable jewelry. So that also just plays in. It's just got so many different angles, and I love this backronym that Fiendish has called a big cockroach hoarder. That's that's even better, hoarding the cockroaches. So yeah, anyway, we'll see how that catches on. But I've always been looking, because you can't really call the Bitcoin Cash community, it's not really Bcashes. I mean, we can say that, but that's just slander mostly. And then you can say, well, we're Bitcoiners, but then that doesn't distinguish us enough from the captured BTC guys. So I kind of, and as well as like, I would bet on a cockroach over a honey badger too. Honey badgers are pretty resilient, but the cockroaches will outlast the honey badgers. So there's a lot of different angles. Okay, we got to keep it to time here. Joemar, I'm going to combine your message to the community in with your sign off because I really know we got to stick to the time here. And we had so much good stuff to talk about. But quick shout out to our FundMe contributors: Majamali Marcelo, Funding Father, Molecular, the show we love, at Cash Stamps, BCH for the win, Cash Dragon, RealBitcoin.cash, Murray Store, great work, Burnin' a Cattle, Bitcoin is Cash, Milton Friedman, Emergent Reasons, Stay Grounded, Go Big, Kanach, BCH is the Michael Jordan of crypto, Yeah Beer, keep building while BTC fights and stagnates, the stage is set for MOE plus SOV, must obsolete, ETH first, Purely Peer, another Paytaca product, purelypeer.cash, discover the thrill of quest hunting, find hidden cash drops, and collect BCH. And Dorimus, keep biddling. You have full support from many. Shout out to our donators and patrons, Ricky, HP, and Kyle, and our sponsors, General Protocols. Check out bchbull.com. Start guide, FAQ links are at bitcoincashpodcast.com. Quickly, Jet, do you have any shout outs?
Yeah, sorry. I got a bunch. So the band Pup, a sick show on Friday, and the 3 people who picked me up after I fallen in the pit, also fantastic. Thank you. Saved my ass from getting trampled. Nikki, Alex, Jesse, and Wes. Fantastic weekend. Thanks, guys.
All right. Okay. Some messy adventures going on, going on there. All right. Good to hear that. My shout out is to Fiendish for coming up with that backronym, and anybody who has been jumping on the cockroach meme, because I have been enjoying that. Luke Pryor has been putting some effort into that one as well. That's been a banger. And we've got a Queen launch going on, BCH Pump. What's it called? It's called bchpumpfund.cash. No, bchpump.cash. So you can hit that up and buy some of the Roach token if you want. Let's see. The bonding, it's currently 42% bonded. So I don't know if a few people jump in there, then maybe we can get that one over the line. Okay, Joemar, round us off and finish out the show with the message to the community and also / your shout outs.
Message to the community. Keep building and be persistent. Surprise the community and the market with the best products possible.
Cool. And where can people find out more? Paytaca is it .com or .org? It's paytaca.com, right? Paytaca.com / token.
We have upgraded our website. We put more.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I think that will just about do it then. Paytaca.com and paytaca.com / token if you're interested in the Lift fundraising. There's a lot more details and everything that you can read up about it there. Okay, thank you all for listening. Stay low, broaches. Till next time.
The Donald, release Roger from prison. Hurry up, bro, soon to be all season. Peer cash, that was the vision. But they locked him up, cause they fear his mission. Dog Bitcoin Jesus, straight from the start. 2011, spreading the spark. Told him the bank's gon' keep y'all in chains. Now he's in a cell where McAfee's name remains. Regulators hate when the people got power. So they set traps, watch them all turn sour. Spain got him locked, extradition in sight. For what, selling freedom? Nah, that ain't right. That they hate BCH cause it moves too fast. Still middleman fees no Wall Street tax. Now they got him shackled, trying to shut him down. But the blockchain's still running underground. To Donald, release Roger from prison. Hurry up, bro, soon to be all season. Peer cash, that was the vision. But they locked him up, cause they fear his mission. The boss can't hold a decentralized mind. The state wanna break him, but they way behind. 2024, it's a brand new race. Fiat's burning, they trying to save face. Inflation robbing every man and his soul. Meanwhile, BCA still playing his role. They print trillions, stealing your wealth. While Roger sitting in a cell by himself. The elites want control, they don't want you free. That's why they took them same thing they did to McAfee. They silenced the ones who exposed the game. But Bitcoin Cash still carry his name.
Authorities in Spain have detained Roger for U.S. officials seeking extradition for alleged tax crimes. The same facility where John McAfee was found dead in 2021. Some say this is politically motivated, but boom, beat drops again.
To Donald, release Roger from prison. Hurry up, bro, soon to be all season. Peer cash, that was the vision. But they locked him up, cause they fear his mission. They scared of the truth, they scared of the chain. But BCH gon' break through the pain. Freedom ain't free, the war ain't done. They took Roger down, but the people ain't won. Roger, free Roger, free Roger, free Roger. Coin, cash is freedom. Roger, free Roger, free Roger, free Roger. Coin, cash is freedom. In the tyranny. Big Don already.